Everyone, welcome. In this video, we're going to go through one of the most fundamental tasks you'll perform after installing Db2 Genius Hub, which is setting up a connection profile. I like to think of a connection profile as the handshake between Db2 Genius Hub and your target database. It's a saved configuration that defines exactly how we connect, authenticate, and ultimately monitor or run jobs on your environment. I'm logging to Db2 Genius Hub console as db2inst1. In my environment, db2inst1 is set up as the console administrator, but really any user ID who can log into the Db2 Genius Hub console can go ahead and create the connection profile. In order to do that, go to Home and click on Add Connection, Database Connection. Once you click on here, there are a few options that you have to fill out here, such as connection name, host, database, and port. I'd like to go through all these options in one of the other connections that I already have. So I'm going to select and click Edit. So in here for the Demo2 connection profile, you can see it's a Db2 connection type. I've provided it with the host name, which has the target database. You can also use the IP address of that. I've given it a port number and the database name. You can also provide it with JDBC URL attributes, which would be used during the JDBC connections. You can add things like trace level, etc., and that would be passed through the JDBC connection string. Again, this is optional, so I'm going to keep it to just host, port, and database. All of this information you can get from your DBA. Scrolling further, there are options here, such as you can use SSL to connect to the database rather than using user ID and password. To use SSL, you can also provide the trust store location, the trust store password, or SSL certificate. In my case, I'm going to stick to using username and password. The second option here is enabling monitoring data collection for the database. Selecting this tells the Db2 Genius Hub to enable monitoring data collection. The monitoring data credentials, which are the username and the password provided here, will be assigned to the connection profile and used to collect data from the monitored database. This is what helps Db2 Genius Hub come up with monitoring trends, metrics, etc. The user ID and password we provide here should have the privileges required to collect database metrics on the target database, such as SQL ADM and or WLM ADM. You don't really have to provide username or password. There are other options as well, where you can provide encrypted password or Kerberos or plugin security. In my case, I'm going to provide just clear text password for now. You can go ahead and do a test connection to see if the username and the password you provided is able to connect to the database provided. Looks like it's successful. The second option we have here is enable shared credentials. Selecting this sets up a shared credential that can be used to run jobs like backup, restore, etc. The user ID and the password that we provided here should have the permissions to run these jobs on the target DB. You can figure out what the username and the password we want to provide here by discussing with your DBA. It's important to note that this credential will be persisted in the repository database and shared with all users who have owner privileges on this connection profile. Again, you can go ahead and do a test connection here. The third option we have here is enable personal credentials. This refers to assigning personal credentials to a user for performing tasks such as running SQLs, using the SQL editor, etc. The username and the password we provide here should have access to objects and DML operations on the target database. Again, you can test the connection and see if the user ID and password can connect. The option here to save credentials to repository refers to saving these personal credentials into the repo DB that was used while installing Db2 Genius Hub. If you don't save these credentials to the repository, when a user using this connection profile is using the SQL editor or the AI assistant, they will be prompted for the user ID and password every time. If you don't want to be prompted for this, you can go ahead and save it to the repository. Again, a note here, the previous connection was a shared connection, but this one here is a personal credential and will not be shared with any other user on this platform. Following that, the last option is Enable Remote OS Service. This refers to allowing the log analysis feature, which will monitor the db2 diag.log, which is the diagnostics log, in the connected database. This does require that the remote OS service is set up in the same environment as a Db2 server. There's a detailed blog and demo video on the channel for log analysis with remote OS service, which you can refer to. So for now, I will keep this option as unselected. You can go ahead and save this connection at this point. So to summarize, with this connection profile, we have selected monitoring database connection, enabled shared credentials, and also enabled personal credentials. Now you can use this connection profile to run any SQLs from the SQL editor, or you can use it with the AI assistant, or check out the monitoring. You can also check out the different connection profiles that are available. If you go to the administration and connection profile, you will see all the connection profiles that are available. Mind you, I am logged in as a Db2 inst1, hence I am a console administrator, and hence I'm able to see all of these. You can export these connection profiles as well, with or without credentials. Once you export them, they will be exported on your environment as CSV files. It will have all the connection details that we use to set up the connection. And that's how you can go ahead and use the connection profiles in your Db2 Genius Hub. Thank you.